We're going to go ahead and get started with our community development meeting. Today's date is February 12th, 2026. The time is 10 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Eberline, Duncan, and Matari. I'm going to call this meeting to order. As far as the chairman's opening remarks, I'm going to ask that because we have a fair number of people here today, that when people speak, I presume a lot of people will speak, that if you do support what the speaker says, please just raise your hands. It'll be duly noted by the board. I'm trying to refrain from making a lot of noise, which could be disruptive and lengthen the hearing itself. So I really appreciate that. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Poll for conflicts? Conflict? No conflicts here. We will begin with our public hearing, and this is APP 25-0001. It's the appeal of Sparrow Acres, and we will begin with staff introduction. Blake, Zetter.
Good morning, Commissioners. Blake Zetter, planner with Kootenai County Community Development. Here to present the appeal of the administrative decision by the director for the approval of a two-lot minor subdivision.
We're having a little difficulty with folks hearing in the back. Is there any way you could just speak a little closer to the microphone? Thank you.
Blake Zetter, planner with Kootenai County Community Development, here to present the appeal of an administrative decision.
Can you just bring it up closer?
Yeah.
Try that.
Blake Zetter, planner with Kootenai County Community Development, here to present the appeal of the administrative decision by the director to approve a two-lot minor subdivision. The order of the presentation, the order of this appeal hearing will go in the following order. First, I will introduce the appeal. Then the appellant will present their case in chief, along with any testimony in support of the appellant. I will then present the county's case in chief, along with any testimony or evidence in support of the county, and then the appellant will have the opportunity to rebut. This appeal first began back when the two-lot minor subdivision was approved in March 24 of 2025. Community Development then received a notice of appeal by the appellant David Rasconi on April 21st. This was brought before the hearing examiner twice, first on June 19th. Unfortunately, due to technical errors, there was an incomplete record. So we had a second hearing before the hearing examiner on September 11th. As you may recall, this appeal was brought before you on October 10th for deliberations with the request for a second public hearing, which you subsequently granted, and we are now at the second hearing.
We're really not hearing that very well.
I understand, ma'am, but there are limitations with the system here, and I do apologize, and we'll try to do a little better. Blake, if there's an opportunity to maybe raise your voice a little bit.
Sway a little bit. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. So the subject property is located off French Gulch on the west side of the county. The subject property is approximately 10 acres in size, zoned rural, consistent with the other properties in the area that are also zoned rural and of similar size. Here shown is the 3D imagery of the property, showing some slope, gradual slope, as well as showing it's been developed with a residence and a couple accessory structures. This is the subdivision that was approved. It's a two-lot minor subdivision with a common driveway coming off French Gulch Road. There was going to be individual wells as individual septics. Each lot is to exceed 5 acres pursuant to the minimum lot size for the rural zone. This is a brief overview of the appellant's case. He will go into more detail when he begins to speak. But there appear to be 3 main points for the appellant. First, the groundwater quantity report did not provide sufficient information to just demonstrate likelihood of groundwater. The appellant also made the claim that Lot 2 was approved without showing one building site. And third, that the geotechnical analysis should have been required at time of application and not deferred to time of development. During this process, we received only one public comment for the first hearing, two written comments, I should clarify. One written comment for the first public hearing, two written comments for the second hearing. And for this hearing, we received 7 written comments, 6 in support of the appeal and 1 neutral. We've actually now received 2 late comments as of this morning, which I will enter into the record now.
Read into the record as B 1001.
At this time, I will stand for any questions. If there's no questions, then I will let the appellant present their case in chief, along with any testimony from the audience in support of the appellant.
Any questions? Hearing none? Okay. The appellant, you may begin.
Should I be up there, or can I speak from here?
Is the microphone, is it on green?
Microphone's on green. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Spence, you want to start clicking? I have this fella to do my slides for me, which are copies, or here are copies of the slides that you may follow along with if you wish.
Okay.
Read into the record as B 1002.
Okay, first page, Spence. Sorry, it's a little small, hard to read. I am Dave Rasconi, 5729 East French Gulch Road. The subdivision is the lot immediately to the west of me. And my appeal to have the approval overturned of the community development's approval of the subdivision Min 24031 is based on the following errors and omissions made by the Development Department, and I request this approval be overturned. First item, Code 8.6.302B8A. The groundwater report submitted to the county dated July 19th, 2024 does not support with factual data that the proposed new well will provide sufficient drinking water to the subdivision and will not negatively affect the quantity of water to nearby property owners. And this report is required by code to support the subdivision. And going piece by piece to take the report apart, report was prepared by Quantum Engineering. On their paragraph, page 3, paragraph 2, recharge to the shale occurs by direct infiltration and precipitation through surface soil recharge from overlying basalt formations, if present. There's no evidence presented in the report to support this claim that groundwater recharge is occurring in any significant quantity, nor from what direction or source. Based on the well driller's logs for this area, the author is wrong to state the shale is being recharged from the non-existent overlying basalt. And later on, if you wish, I'll take you through the driller's logs, which are actually part of the Quantum report. I'm not challenging them, but they are of interest to us here because of the type of rock formation. Quantum, page 3, paragraph 5, hydraulic conductivity is the ability to transmit water through the aquifer. And this is a really important next statement. Representative values of hydraulic conductivity for fractured igneous and metamorphic rock ranges from a small of 0.00846 to 84.6 feet per day, as taken from a textbook, Domenico, 1990 version, with an average value for hydraulic conductivity of 42.3 feet per day. The author of the quantum report assumes a value. He guesses at a value. There's nothing to support that 42.3 feet per day, and it's from the wrong rock formation. This report assumes an average value for hydraulic conductivity in fractured, igneous, and metamorphic rock, but not in shale where the French Gulch wells are located, and he doesn't offer any basis for using the average of 42.3 feet per day. I know I repeated myself, but this is really important because it's the whole basis for his report. The next, little bit hard to read, I've calculated the conductivity of my irrigation well, measuring the wetted surface of the well, the static height, calculating the surface area, and the flow of my well, and I come up with 2.8 feet per day. That's 15 times less than what Quantum Report claims. We're not talking 2 or 3 times, we're talking an order of magnitude. He's off by an order of magnitude. You keeping up with me, Spence?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a neighbor well where I had good data on. Same calculation, the wetted surface, and his flow rate. Their conductivity is 1/26th what Quantum guesses at. As you can see, we're way, way off between actual and the guess that Quantum presents. Next item, the Quantum says, page 3, paragraph 4, production ranged from 1/2 GPM to 40 gallons per minute with a typical production of 5 to 20 gallons per minute. You need to understand these production rates were noted by the driller for a very short time and immediately after drilling the well. Quantum, page 3, paragraph 7. The well serving the parent parcel is located near the existing residence. The well, parentheses, Schmidt, produces, and I say that again, produces 28 gallons per minute, and the location was revised such. Approximate distance from the center of a proposed lot on the southern half of the subject property to these residents are 600 and 750 feet respectively. And I'm saying, claiming that the existing well next door produces 28 gallons per minute in present tense is absolutely unsupported. In fact, I'm going to go out off script a little bit and say it doesn't. None of the wells produce what they do on the day it was drilled. I'd be surprised if he's getting 3 gallons a minute, but that's opinion. That well was drilled on October 2008, tested by the driller at that time for 1.5 hours with the estimated production of 28 gallons per minute. Every well in this area that we have records for shows a tremendous reduction in gallon per minute and static height over time. And then I go through I have actually 2 wells. I have a domestic well and an irrigation well. And I give the data for those 2 wells. The claim that approximate distance from the center of a proposed lot to east and west residence is intentionally misleading. The center of the proposed lot is unusable due to a high-pressure natural gas pipeline bisecting the property. In fact, a new well could be located as close as 280 feet to my existing domestic well. Quantum, page 4, paragraph 1. The influence of one well was estimating using a hypothetical distance of 600 feet to the nearest well. using the Theus equation from a textbook, Cooper, 1946, and an average hydraulic conductivity of 42.5 feet per day, a conservative aquifer thickness of 5 feet, and one home pumping, etc. This influence appears to be very minor and would not be considered significant unless it exceeds 10 to 20 feet. Don't know where he came up with the 10 to 20 feet, and that's in a 10-year period. So you're talking 1 foot to 2 foot per year drop of static height. As previously shown, the assumption made by Quantum of 42.5 feet per day is incorrect, with an actual value of 2.8 feet measured in my well. Further, the assumption of 600 feet distance to the nearest well is in question. The influence would not be considered significant unless it exceeds 10 to 20 feet, is not correctly dimensioned. He just throws it 10 to 20 feet, but is it how many per year? Quantum possibly means 10 to 20 feet drawdown in static height in 10 years, but I don't want to fill in blanks in his report because we don't know. In fact, my domestic well has lost 73 feet of static height in 46 years. That's 18.25 feet in 10 years. And my irrigation well has lost 109 feet of static height in 20 years. That's 54 feet per 10 years. The neighbor well, which I have good data on, has lost 48 feet of static height in just 9 years. Per Quantum's assessment, again, unsupported in his report, but his assessment of 1 foot per year or 10 feet per 10 years, we already have a significant problem with loss of static height in the groundwater without any additional wells in this area. Quantum goes on to say well yield in the shale, and he specifies shale now as opposed to igneous and metamorphic rock that he derives the 42.5 feet per day flow in. Well yield in the shale varies, and yields of 5 to 20 gallon per minute should be expected. Yields of 5 to 20 gallon per minute, I'm saying, may be obtained only with luck and only for a short time immediately after drilling. Note his page 3, paragraph 4 of one of the wells, new well, giving 1/2 gallon a minute. Quantum, page 5, paragraph 2. It is unlikely that interference to existing wells will occur from one proposed domestic well on the new parcel. The estimated interference is minor and less than 1 foot. Given the 5+ acre lot size and low surrounding housing to well density, interference to offsite wells is unlikely. Again, Quantum has failed to properly dimension a unit less than 1 foot. What does that mean? The implication is there will be interference to adjacent wells, contrary to their conclusion. Quantum, page 6, paragraph 1 and 2. This evaluation relied on the experience of Quantum regarding development of water in the area and the formations described above. This evaluation did not include test drilling nor test pumping of wells in the vicinity. The estimated influence in adjacent wells was based on average literature values for hydraulic parameters and for similar formations and estimated well separations. The estimated influence is based on isotropic aquifer conditions, and this evaluation did not consider impacts of climate change, future wells drilled in the vicinity, or impacts associated with excessive usage by new or existing wells in the vicinity. That's a very broad disclaimer that no actual data was used to develop the conclusions presented in the Quantum report. Even a simple 4-hour pump test of the existing well on the subject property would have given a dose of reality to the report prepare in regard to declining flows and flow rates and static heights in the wells in this area. My review of developer submissions to the Development Department and correspondence files of the Development Department have revealed why the quantum report is completely incompetent. Believe this or not, the report was prepared for a different development at in another location. It was first submitted by the developer and dated July 11th, 2024. Spence, can you find that in the July 11th quantum report?
Is that in your documentation that you
It
gave
is.
us?
Are you
Okay.
willing to accept that there were two reports? We don't necessarily need to see it.
Well, what you're saying is that there was almost verbatim language for another lot.
That is absolutely correct. And the Development Department requested clarification on August 26th, 27th, and 30, and was furnished a revised report dated July 19th, which is the one we're working out. That's front page of the July 11th. The July 19th report references the correct location but retains the references to the igneous and metamorphic water-bearing rock and the data and formulas for the other development. Incredibly, the Development Department on August 30th, you can go back to my narrative, Spence. Incredibly, the Development Department on August 30 only requests the developer as follows, quote, references parcel that is approximately 17.9 acres and 3-lot minor maps show correct parcel approximately 11 acres. This information needs to be consistent. I can accept amended page to the report that addresses corrects the error and is stamped by the professional geologist that did the original report. And note that the Development Department in their correspondence did not request any correction to the technical details in the report. Code 8.6.302B8E, if necessary to demonstrate compliance, the director may require additional information such as historic and current static water levels in the area, but the Development Department has not done any follow-up with this obvious problem we have. Now, I have a report. I'd like Robert Haynes. Did he come back? Bob, are you here? Oh, what are you doing back there? Come up. Come here. Robert Haynes is retired regional manager of the Idaho Department of Water Resources, and he's done a study of the water conditions in the half-mile surrounding the proposed subdivision. I want to ask my neighbors who are here to pay real close attention because of the problem we have with water up here that you all are aware of. You ready? Just speak there and speak loud. You want to put Bob Haynes' report up, Spence?
My name is Robert Haynes. I reside at 2571 South Reynolds Road, Coeur d'Alene. As Dave said, I am retired regional manager for the Idaho Department of Water Resources and am a registered professional engineer in Idaho. One of the things that surprised me about the way this was handled is that there are clearly errors and omissions in this report that the community development, that in my opinion, the community development should have remanded this back to the developer. The well database from the Department of Water Resources, which Quantum supposedly extracted their information from, and I believe they got 44 wells, when in fact there are about 65 wells within a half mile of the proposed development. The way Quantum developed their impact area is different than the way I did. And in fact, there are some wells that are in the quantum report that drop out of the analysis that I made because they are not within a half mile of the proposed development. I have an idea about why the discrepancy exists. I don't know that that's particularly important at this juncture. Just the fact that there clearly are more wells within this area than what are considered in the report. The book that Quantum used for developing or referencing the hydraulic conductivity, which was Domenico 1990, and as Dave has already pointed out, he used information for metamorphic rock when in fact the subject of aquifer for this area is shale. That textbook does contain information about hydraulic conductivity and various hydraulic parameters for shale. Why that mistake was made, I don't know. Just to suffice it to say that there was an error made. One other thing that I think is really important is we are talking about an area that does have a water supply problem. And within the half mile of this proposed development, there are 79 unique parcels. Of those 79, there are 3 that either belong to the United States Forest Service or Kootenai County. That means that there are a total of 76 parcels that could be developed within this area. Of those 76, 23 do not have any development on them right now, which means that you have a potential for roughly half again as many wells as exist within that area right now, which is going to exacerbate the problem that we have. One of the things that is a very very concerning problem in this area is we don't really have a way of evaluating what will happen not only with the additional wells that are potential to be developed in the area, but with the ones that are already there. We have limited information about those wells, and every single one of them is going to show that there's been a decline both in the static water level and the quantity of water that those wells produce. And the only logical reason that you can come up with for explaining this is the impact of the development that's already occurred within the area. One other thing that I want to comment on at this point is I believe there was a February 6th memo to you commissioners from the community development folks about the fact that the Department of Water Resources would review this when the well was drilled. That information is not correct. With a single family well development, there's no permit required. And the only thing that the department will do is issue a well drilling permit. The fees from that well drilling permit are used to fund a program that ensures that wells are constructed in a manner that protects the groundwater quality of the area. But in terms of evaluation of impacts on other users, that simply does not happen. I wish it did. The problem that we're talking about here is not unique to Kootenai County. It's happening all over the state of Idaho, and actually the Idaho legislature has modified requirements or definitions, I guess would be a better way of phrasing it, for domestic wells. The modifications that have been made to the code don't provide any relief for where we have, for what we have right now. I guess that's about all I've got, Dave.
Thank you, Bob.
All right.
That's the end of my water portion of the appeal. Do you have any questions or take them later? How do you prefer to handle?
Do we have any questions up here? No. I just have one question. You're not objecting to the fact that these other lots could be developed. It's the subdividing of the one in question. Is that correct?
Well, the subdividing of the one in question just adds another nail in what I think is already a coffin.
Understood. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to give you about 6 more minutes. Is that going to be enough to kind of cover some of the other areas that you have?
I have 3 more real quick items that I'd like to at least touch on, if I could proceed.
Yes.
Where am I? Okay, Spence, put my my narrative up again. You're looking for 8.6.302B12. A geotechnical analysis is required as part of the subdivision application if there's a water table within 6 feet of the ground surface at any time of the year. And the important point is the subdivision application, at the time of the subdivision application. The Development Department omitted this requirement for this report until I filed my appeal. As a cover for the department's submission, this requirement has been waived until, quote, time of development on Lot 2, thus pushing it past the deadline for appeal and denying outside review. Code does not allow this analysis to be delayed. They do have a may ask for it, but that's discretionary. In fact, that's, I guess, is a term, a moot point, because they have asked for it but deferred it. They can't do that. 8.6.303B, to approve a minor subdivision, the director must make all the following findings. The plat, the project, and lot meets the requirements of all agencies with jurisdiction over these providing service. As of February 5th, 2026, the county surveyor still has the plat, quote, under review. The county surveyor's comment was, typically once the developer, my ad, has addressed my comments or have only minor corrections to make, I will result it as approved. Presumably the county surveyor is seeing something greater than minor issues. We don't know what that is. 8.6.702A, no land shall be subdivided because of potential hazards such as high-pressure gas lines unless the hazards are eliminated or adequately mitigated. The proposed subdivision is bisected by 2 high-pressure gas and petroleum pipelines. Owing to the layout of the proposed lot, the high-pressure gas pipeline will be in close proximity to the construction site of a new house and etc. No mention or concern was shown by the director in his order decision of March 24th, 2025 in regard to this obvious hazard, and was only addressed inadequately after I filed my appeal. Note the department's inconsistency in requiring 2 different buffers, 25 feet either side of the high-pressure gas pipeline and 50 feet either side of the high-pressure petroleum pipeline. 8.6.706A, subdivisions shall be designed to be compatible with existing homes, businesses, and neighborhoods, and with the natural characteristics of the area. To achieve this, the board may require building envelopes, no disturbance zones, height restrictions, and planting or retention of vegetation. There is nowhere on the resulting 2.05 acre subdivision where a house may be located that will be compatible with existing homes. The existing neighborhood homes distance to my house, Schmidt 482 feet, Mitchell 597, Wood 592, Hanson 501, Holland 945, Robinson 582. None of these houses are in the direct view of each other, and is within this code to expect similar setback for any new lot in this area. That would require a minimum 250-foot building setback from the east side of the proposed lot. 8.6.706B, lot design. Subdivisions must result in lots of reasonable utility and livability. Subdivisions design shall not contain irregular configurations that result in unusable land or may cause future conflicts. The proposed lot is bisected by 2 high-pressure natural gas and petroleum pipelines, reducing the possible building site to just 2.5 acres, in which the house, existing barn, well, septic, and driveway need to fit. As a result of the pipeline locations, there's approximately 3.5 acres of unusable land, and the only building site is to the west, directly in front of my house. 8.6.708B, subdivisions in view sheds. I'll skip the text to that. Any new building on a proposed site will be contrary to this section of the code. Attached are photos photoshopped. Spence, you want to get those pictures going, please? From my front porch. And we're at the end after I do this. That's my house. Back up. That's my house. I'm 20 feet high. Next one, please. That's photoshopped of Motel 6, 250 feet back from the, what do you call it, the border, the property line. The left is at 20-foot height. The right side's 35-foot height. Next, please. This is as close as he could build, approximately 50 foot from the property line. The left side's at 20 feet. The right side's at 35 feet. And again, that's 50-foot setback. And the last one, please. And here's a rough layout of where my house lies relative to the building site, which is, if you follow that arrow, that's pretty much where he's going to have to build because of the high-pressure gas pipelines. I'm sorry I took up a little extra time, but maybe I'm done now. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
I'd like to ask one thing. If you do ask a question, particularly the technical side of community development, that I be allowed to speak or opportunity to answer it.
Well,
Thank you.
there will be a rebuttal opportunity.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. With that said, who on the county would like to talk a little bit?
First, typically, we will do the testimony in favor of the appellant, and then I'll present my case in chief. That's how we'd like to pursue, but we can wait.
Kind of chairman's prerogative, as long as the delegates are above.
Yeah, the appellant will rebuttal last, so.
Okay, so public testimony later? Okay. All right, can everyone hear me? Okay. All right, so as you heard from the appellant, David Rusconi, he is requesting the reversal of the approval of the 2-lot minor subdivision. Beginning with the hydrologist report, he states that the average hydraulic conductivity was incorrectly noted, being 42.3 feet higher, based on igneous and metamorphic rock. I spoke with the hydrogeologist that prepared this, James DeSmit, and he actually used a higher conductivity to assume a higher inference to be conservative on the amount of impact on the surrounding parcels. So what he ended up doing is actually using a higher inference or a higher conductivity in his calculation to assume a higher inference on the surrounding wells. What is actually going to happen, because as the David Rusconi accurately stated, it is shale underneath, not igneous or metamorphic rock, which has a very low hydraulic conductivity. With a low hydraulic conductivity, it is assumed that it will be far less than even 1 foot of interference after 10 years. The 1 foot of interference that was based on calculations of a much higher hydraulic conductivity. Regarding his assumption that, or his claim that the report assumes a 600-foot well separation for the new well from existing wells, staff believes this remains valid as this is a reasonable planning estimate. We do not know where the well or water is specifically located until the well is actually drilled. They may drill a first well that comes up dry and find an aquifer elsewhere. It should be noted that shale is a very hard rock that is fractured and has very different or individual aquifers in it that are not connected. In addition, his claim for the account that the long-term groundwater has declined in the area, we have heard a lot of people come out over the hearings stating similar claims. Unfortunately, the code does not require that type of data to be prepared. In addition, staff is not aware of this type of data being publicly available. And lastly, the appellant, despite our constant communication and his recommendation to provide staff with substantive, verifiable, and or engineered stamped evidence has not been provided to us. We are required to rely on the specialties of the engineers and the hydrologists that prepare this report. I am not a hydrologist. I am not an engineer. So based on the report that was provided to us by the Idaho licensed hydrologist, James DeSmit, as I said before, the shale contains numerous fractures and aquifers that contain groundwater. The well drilled on the subject property is likely to tap into a different aquifer than the appellant's aquifer or the aquifer of the surrounding wells. Just as a side note, the suitable depth of the shale varies based on the groundwater quantity report and the well drillers. There have been a number of different depths required to reach water. Again, the groundwater quantity report assumes that the minimum standard of 5 gallons per minute, 1,500 gallons per day should be met, as most wells at the time of the groundwater of their well drillers have yielded between 25 and 20 gallons per minute. And based on the hydrologist report, the recharge to the shale, the soil beneath the area, subject property, occurs by direct infiltration of precipitation through surface soil recharge, overlying basalt formations, and lateral recharge from higher elevations north and east of the search area, meaning the appellant's aquifer is likely to be recharged before the subject properties, as it is higher elevation and further east. And again, we are required to rely on the expertise of these engineers and hydrologists who have provided us with an estimated interference of less than 1 foot after 10 years with a conservative estimate using a higher hydraulic conductivity. Regarding the site constraints,
Could you just briefly explain the relationship between hydraulic conductivity and recharge rate?
He needs a mic, it's on.
I don't know if I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, Pat, yeah, the microphone.
Sorry, I was wondering, you mentioned, go back one. Hydraulic conductivity, and that the hydrogeologist used a higher rate, is that correct? Or
Correct.
higher conductivity rate?
To be conservative, correct.
How is that,
The higher
how does
conductivity,
that relate to recharge rate? In other words, what's the effect of a higher conductivity versus a lower one?
So if the new well is drilled and is pulling water out, water will have to be recharged, of course, from somewhere. A lower or high hydraulic conductivity, essentially, as the appellant stated, is the soil's ability to allow fluid to pass through it, essentially water. Because shale has a very low hydraulic conductivity, it is not pulling water from other sources easily. It has very low hydraulic conductivity. The water that is being infiltrated from surface draw, it is not pulling laterally very much. So we are expecting it to be far lower as on the inference on the surrounding area.
And how does that affect the wells?
I might need you to be more specific. There'll be less inference. Less water will be pulled from the surrounding aquifers and well supply. Sorry if that's not clear. Any questions on that before I move on?
No, ma'am, sorry, we have a moment, a period where you can provide testimony, but not right now.
Oh, but I can't ask a question.
No.
Okay.
I do also want to note, it's not in my presentation here, but the appellant did make the claim that the groundwater quantity report was for a different development on a different property. That was only noted in the first paragraph. All other information in the groundwater quantity report did accurately reflect the correct parcel number, address, and AIN. And the map showed the correct parcel. It was just the opening paragraph used a different proposal. Regarding site constraints, the appellant made the claim that Lot 2 was approved without showing that it has at least one building site that can meet the required setbacks and can be accessed by a driveway that complies with the county standards. There are, in fact, 3, but 2 areas of pipelines that cross the property. We did speak with the agencies in control of those pipelines. Avista has an express easement that is shown on the plat. Yellowstone also has a pipeline. After speaking with them, they recommend a 50-foot buffer. And then the Williams also has an easement, but it's an old easement with no defined right-of-way. After speaking with them, they recommended a 25-foot setback buffer, no development buffer. With this, there is there's approximately 3 total acres of development still available. A little over 2 acres north of the Williams pipeline, and 1 acre between the Williams and the Avista pipeline. Staff recommends adding this as a recommendation, or staff recommends adding this as a condition of approval with these recommended buffers on the face of plat. Regarding the geotechnical analysis, the claim that it is required is incorrect. The code allows the director to have discretion when requiring the geotechnical analysis. The appellant is correct that there is a high water table here. The director exercised the discretion that is allowed in the code to essentially postpone the geotechnical analysis, as we feel it would be premature and potentially wasteful because we don't know the specific location or the type of development that is going to occur. We believe that it is more appropriate to require this geotechnical analysis at the time of development. In addition, this was not caught after David Rusconi has filed his appeal. This was actually a condition of approval in the original subdivision. In short, staff recommends that the appeal be denied and that the decision be approved by the director be affirmed. This was brought before the hearing examiner, who also recommended that the appeal be denied and the decision before the director be affirmed. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those now.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but this is a hearing.
Oh, I thought.
Did you fill out one of these? Okay, well, we're not at that point yet where you
So
can,
I can't ask a question right now.
not during this part.
So who is he asking to take questions from?
The board.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, it's for the 3 of us up here.
Okay, my misunderstanding.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, the applicant, the owner of the property, is he here? Would you like to come on up and
Can you
bring that photo of this or something like this. I don't know if you guys want to look at some of these. This is just some records of some well logs, and I pulled 2 records that I did on both properties. So the property, oh, good.
State your name. I have Val.
My name's Val, property 5655. So if you actually look at this picture, you see that little structure right there? That's actually where we're going to be building. That is the same distance as I am right now, pretty much, maybe just a little bit closer from Dave. That's at least 400 feet. That's not right in front of him. So the picture that you guys just saw, that's like right in his window. It is not like that. That's first thing. We had, we just did a well. I had to fix my well a little bit. And I am, if you look at page 2, you can see that I am doing 10 gallons per minute. This is literally just right now. We did the test about 2 months ago. 11, 23, 25, we were pushing 12 gallons per minute. I had to fix, I spent like $11,000 on fixing this well. We had a leak in the ground. We had a few other things. And we are producing 10 gallons per minute after a 4-hour test. If you guys flip the next page, you will see A&H well service. This is the property I just sold on 5049. We are right now, currently 6 months ago, we were pushing 29 gallons, 0.43 a minute. A lot of people here are sitting and saying we're not producing that kind of water. This is literally me doing the well test before we sold the property, and this is how much we were. It's a shared well because there's 2 houses. They were producing 29.5 gallons per minute. There's other logs that are, I went into the records, I looked at them. There's 17 gallons, there's 20 gallons. Yes, these are old records. I don't know why none of the new records, if somebody's testing their well, are on site, but some of them are like 1996 or different dates. So also, if you look through all of these logs, well logs, I mean, you can see that, I don't know if I need to explain them, but the person behind me, he's producing 5 gallons per minute. I'm producing 10 gallons per minute on my property. Dave, I believe, said he was doing like 1 gallon or something like that. I don't remember. But if we're connected to the same aquifer, why am I producing then 10 gallons per minute? We are 320 feet deep. Our water table is at 120 feet. That's on this property right here, and I can get you guys those logs. I just didn't think that was a requirement. I just showed you that I'm doing 10 gallons per minute. And yeah, I mean, we can look through these if you want me to go through them, but there's enough evidence right here that we're producing water. Now, not saying that there's less or more or what's happening in our, if there's, drought or something like that, because I know that was mentioned a few times. Now, another thing, there's 4 houses being built around us as we speak right now. I've been going through this for about a year now. And there's 4 houses right here, right behind Dave. There's a house being built already for a year. There's another one that's being developed as soon as you drive up that road, right where that picture ends. There's another development happening right past. If you keep driving on this road to the right, there's another person developing. I saw them getting ready with their preps. And I've been going through this for about a year now, and I just don't know how much more proof I need to bring that I'm producing enough water. There's actually like 10 of my neighbors that don't want to be on this court, and they're producing enough well water. And we're dealing with this still right now, a year later.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Handouts read into the record as B 1003.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start reading some of the comments we have here. And forgive me in advance if I mispronounce your name. Sheila Stone Jarvelin, in favor of the appeal, wishes to speak. You can come up to the podium over there. What do you want to do, 2 or 3? I know. Yep. All right, 3 minutes,
Okay,
okay? And
so I had a question earlier that I couldn't ask, but I'll ask now regarding, that well could tap into other aquifers. I lived there for many, many years, over 30. How many aquifers are up there? Just a question.
I'm not sure anyone
Yeah.
knows that exactly.
You know, there's kind of like one aquifer that goes around and whatever. I didn't know there were multiple aquifers up there. So that was just a question that popped into my mind. But obviously, there's lots of concern about the water, which I get that. But my other concerns are the pipeline situation. So I'm wondering, obviously, the land is gonna be developed, or split to build a house. Okay, we all know that. So the plan, what is the plan if there is a rupture on those pipelines? Is there an environmental impact statement in place to show if that happened, how would that be handled? Who would be responsible for it? And who pays if there's damage done? And does the developer have a plan for, if something goes awry?
I think those are questions at the time of development right now, but it would be the same protocols, I would presume, for any other lot that has already been developed where those lines go through them.
Okay, so that issue doesn't matter right now. You're just going, this issue is just to subdivide.
Yes,
So we can't ask those questions until a building permit is requested.
we're addressing the subdivision right now of the lot into 2 lots.
Right.
Because we
Which is
don't,
going to be used for building, but that point doesn't matter until somebody actually puts in a building request.
it depends on the building, the location, the use, things like that. So yes,
So we just have to wait on that part.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Bob Haynes? I think you already spoke. So Tom Sullivan, in favor, wishes to speak. Come on up. You have 3 minutes, Mr. Sullivan.
I have 3 quick. It's Tom Sullivan. I live at 7706 North Heathgrass in Coeur d'Alene. I have 3 quick areas of concern, one major, which we'll hit first, and that is the contention from staff that the director has discretion to make the decision of whether a technical geographical survey is required. I have no problem with that. I'm sure that exists in writing someplace. However, discretion always requires oversight. And it is this body that has the oversight over that official's discretion. If not, then, you're telling me that the director has fiat, which that's not the United States that I live in. I'm a retired Marine Corps colonel. I'm an intelligence officer. Topographical issues are my bread and butter for 30 years. If you don't have that map? Page 9 of that report. You go into Mr. Risconi's. I'm looking for the map that shows the topographical contour lines. The purpose of that is that the topographical contour lines will show you that there could be as much as a 120-foot drop, and they're marked here in the red arrows where they cross onto there could be as much as a 20-foot drop from the top line to the bottom line, all right? And no, that's not it either. Okay, and there, right there.
Let's give it to Reed.
So basically, from here to here, you got 1, 2, 3 contour lines, all right? That's a significant amount of drop. I mean, somebody who's a lot smarter than me can figure out what the actual slope of that would be, because the survey that we have right now says that the average slope is between 5 and 20%. I can tell you that the U.S. military tests tactical trucks at 16%. So a 20% slope, if that's your variance, is a really significant slope. To get back to the geotechnical, shale, because it's a sedimentary rock, normally fragments horizontally, not vertically. So all we've been hearing from the hydrographic surveys is the vertical flow, not the horizontal flow. Water in is water out. So if you have 42 feet per year of hydraulic status flow going vertically, you also probably have that horizontally. That impacts very directly on the county's liability for allowing a structure and building to go that close to a petroleum pipeline without measuring what's the slippage. Engineering firms do that all the time. County highway guys do it all the time because they have to. They have to know what the slope is. Major liability issue for the county, and it's one that's rather easily addressed by using your discretion to provide oversight to the director. All right, the second thing I want to cover is environmental issues.
Mr. Sullivan, I'm sorry, but your 3 minutes is up.
Okay, thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Major environmental issue at the bottom with water, and there's no clearance from Fish and Wildlife.
I understand.
For that. Thanks.
I have David Risconi here, but you're the appellant, so.
Bruce, can I get this into the record real quick?
In favor and wishes to speak.
Yeah. Map read in as Exhibit B 1004.
Thank you. Next up is Ron Hartman, in favor of the appeal and wishes to speak. You get 3 minutes, Mr. Hartman.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Hartman. For the record, I want to discuss the quantum report. For the record, I want to give my background as why I'm qualified to give an evaluation of this report. I've got 45 years in engineering as an engineer and or supervising engineers. I have signed off on countless documents that involve the safety of the public in cars with Ford Motor Company and trucks, or construction equipment at John Deere and Caterpillar, or with aircraft at King Radio that are in Lear, Cessna, and Piper and so forth. First thing I'd like to point out, there was a July 11th report submitted to the county. It was the wrong property. They didn't even have the right property. They then submitted another report on July 19th correcting the property location. But then in the very first paragraph here, They make a statement, there is an existing residence on the north portion of the subject property served by an existing well that produces 28 gallons per minute. This is invalid data. It doesn't state when it produced 28 gallons per minute. It doesn't state how long it produced 28 gallons per minute. It's irrelevant data. It can't support anything. So now I'm going to go to the summary of the last report they submitted on the 19th. If you go to page 5 of the report, the top paragraph, the first sentence, it says it appears likely that the proposed well can meet the code production requirements. Then if you go to the second paragraph, first sentence, it is unlikely that the interference to the existing well will occur. These are not engineering evaluations. These are assumptions. They're not backed by data. They're not backed by testing. I can attest to you, as in my mechanical engineering classes, that my mechanical engineering professors would give me an F for not having the math and the data to show the conclusion I came to. I'd also like to state that David didn't. He's also a degreed mechanical engineer. I have a degree in engineering also. So now going down to the bottom of the page, on limitation, it says the evaluation was based on the review of existing well logs. They presented 46 logs to the county on this. 7 of them go back to 1970. 3 of them are in the 1980s. 3 of them were in the 1990s. 14 of them were in the 2000s. 13 of them were in the 2010. The most recent data they provided
Mr.
were
Hartman?
2 wells.
Your 3 minutes is up, I'm sorry.
I think this is pretty important. I only need another 30 seconds.
I'll give you 10.
All right. The 2 most recent ones were in 2020. This is old data. The other thing I'd like to point out,
Mr. Hartman, I've got to cut you off. I'm sorry. Next up is Steve Kutcher. In favor, wishes to speak.
I bet I'm sure. I'm going to summarize.
All right, we're looking at a big bathtub. If he's gonna suck water out of that end of the bathtub, that affects all the water at this end of the bathtub. I know all these geologists are telling you whatever. There's only so much water available. And it's all up there in the hills. And if we take it out of this end, it's called drainage.
Can you please
Suck it
speak
out of
in?
there,
Yeah, we'll
water-
need you to speak into the microphone if you would, please.
So water is draining. If it drains at that end, the water at this end is gonna go down. My water level has gone down from 60 feet down to 120 feet. So don't tell me that it's only going to go down 10 feet per year. It's gone down way faster than that. And the water is all going down the bottom of the hill. There's pipelines down there. You put in the leach field. That leach field water, all the acids are gonna get down the pipeline eventually and destroy it and weaken the strength. I know they have wrappings on the pipes to try to prevent that, but still, that stuff is gonna get through there. Fish and Wildlife is in charge of all the waters in the county. But my well is only producing 1 gallon a minute. My neighbor's well is 800 feet deep. He's only getting 3 gallons a minute. His well, a neighbor from him, he's only getting 3 gallons a minute. Connie's well went dry. Bob Williams' well went dry.
The microphone.
We got a whole bunch of people up there whose wells have went dry this year because you simply don't have enough water available. Adding more houses is not going to help the water situation at all. That's it.
Thank you. Terrell Semenko, in favor? You did not mark if you wanted to speak or not. Did you want to speak? All right, come on up to the podium. And you have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay.
And-
My name is Terry Semanco.
We might need you to keep the microphone a little closer to your mouth so other folks can hear you.
Hey, my name's Terry Smanko. My folks moved here to Coeur d'Alene when I was 14. And I lived back in Wisconsin where most of the land was flat. Then we moved here and discovered about mountains. Snow, rain fall on the mountaintops, and then the snow, what we need is snowbanks. What we need is snowbanks to get the water going down through the surface, and then it goes out in what I always called was veins in the ground. So when you got soil on top and then it goes down to the shale or whatever, that's all the farther the water can go down below the ground, and then it picks out little crevices and
Keep the
cracks at the
microphone closer
veins
to your mouth.
that it can run through to get down through the valley. So some of them are wider than others, and so wherever you drill, you hope you get one of those veins that's got enough water and do some good. And you hit a dry spot or just a low percentage, you can move over maybe 20, 30 feet and drill again and hit a different vein. But aquifer to me means like the Raston Prairie where the mountains come down together, and that's as far as the water can go, so it builds a pool. It gets high enough, then it can continue on. Up on where Dave's place is, I'm sorry, I'm getting nervous. You got, it's a little hill behind, the top of the hill behind him. It's not a mountain, it just flattens out. The north slope of that area drops down into Nettleton Gulch. And then the east side comes down and comes out on, just follows the valley out down, so they're down to the bottom of the hill there. Anyways, you only get so much, and these reports back in the 80s and 70s and 90s, we used to have snow and snow banks all melting clear into July. We don't even get our snow now. So they're not going to get more water. Every year, it's less and less and less surface water because we don't have the snow to keep it going. So you're not going to improve anything by building houses and drilling wells in that area. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Next up is Laurel Kutcher. May wish to speak in favor.
My name is Laurel Kutcher. We live at 6581 East French Gulch Road. We lived there just a little over 6 years. And when we first arrived there, we had plenty of water. And this, in 2025, we had to call the well people out. They did some repairs. And we ended up, after repairs, with only about, 1 to 2 gallons per minute, which is lower, because we used to get probably 10 gallons a minute. So just, our water level has gone down where we are, and we're about a half a mile from Dave Riscotti. And to the north side of our property, we can tell that there has been a spring where when we first arrived there 6 years ago, we could see water in a pit area. It was visible. Now it's all completely dry year-round, and so something has changed. And something about the well count that may not be taken into consideration. Our well was built in 1977, when the house was built. Well, our well does not show on any maps because at that time they were not recording them. So I don't know if any of the counts that you look at are accurate now, because you won't see the one that's closest to our house. And the little spring over there, that doesn't show because it's never been drilled. And so there are other people who moved to the area, the house just east of us, that was built before ours. There are several that have been built a long time ago, and those wells will not show up on any count that I know of anyway, because nobody's come to us and asked to have ours registered. And so we're concerned about the water for the area and for the whole future of our water property. We all have invested a lot of money in our properties, And if the water goes dry for all of us, where are we going to move to? We can't sell our property. So we're very urgently concerned about this.
Thank you. Next person I have, is it Elena Nelson? In favor, may wish to speak? And the person after that, you can be ready, is Virginia Robinson. May wish to speak and is in favor of the appeal. So if you could just be ready. You have 3 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. I wrote in something, but I misspelled the address, so you guys didn't get it. Anyway, I live across French Gulch. Basically, if you look at the map, my house is about where the A is on Fernan Hill. And I have several things I wanted to bring up as an issue, and a big one is the water. But the intent of the parcel division, the division is a parcel that appears to be intended for primarily for sale, with the placement of a temporary wheeled tiny home and barn rather than the permanent residential development consistent with the stated purpose of the application. The owners of the subject property have already vacated the existing residence and have not lived on the property since November of 2025. Water availability. My well was put in the 80s, 1986. It was started out as 12 gallons per minute. I cannot support anything now besides regular household, so I cannot water outside and barely have enough basically for my livestock, which is 3 goats. Unsuitable site conditions for septic and safety concerns. I know this has been brought up by other people, but the southern end of the parcel in the subdivision is located with the creek bed, and one of the other maps showed it going between the two gas lines. The addition of another well would future strain on already limited groundwater supply, as we've all been talking about. And also a drain field with the dirt, it's clay on top of rock. So having a drain field septic, I don't think that would be supported there. Inconsistency with established rural character and parcel standards. The French Gulch area has historically been maintained for larger parcels. In the past, in the 80s, it was 5 acres minimum parcels on the county road, 10 acres not on the county road. I am not a public speaker, as you can tell.
You're doing fine.
Okay. But the proposed subdivision creates a 5-acre parcel that does not have direct access to the county road. It does mention that there will be an easement on the front 5, but this just does not line up with the entire look and feel and the area with the larger parcels around it. That is the gist of what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Virginia Robinson, in favor? And Connie Madison, you're up next.
So, Virginia Robinson, I live directly east of Rasconi. So I have the 5-acre parcel, over 30 years. Anecdotally, just as everyone else, our well started out, we are 75%
Can you
less.
keep it a little
We are
closer?
75% less GPM than we were, and the static level is twice as deep. So I'm hearing everyone say that their wells are depleting. Well, that may be. My question, I am a local attorney, and so, of course, my mind goes to liability, okay? Because there's a lot of money in these properties. Is it part of your ministerial function to consult with the county attorney to discuss the county's liability for over-permitting? This is considered a ministerial function. And if the decision is not based on reasonable evidence, the county is liable. Is it part of your plan to discuss this liability issue with your attorney? I suggest you do. Because if my property if you're over-permitting all the properties here and my property is devalued, they will hear from me and everybody else. And there's precedent for that. So I suggest that you at least withhold your decision until you speak with the county attorney to make sure that you're not exposing the county to more liability than you realize. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you. Connie Madison, in favor? Did you want to speak? Yeah. Yes? Yes. Okay, you're up. And the next person will be Lisa Discolo. In favor of the appeal did not mention if she wants to speak, but if you want to speak, you can get in line. And go ahead, Ms. Madison.
Okay. My name is Connie Madison, and I live in the French Gulch area. My address is 5803
Keep
East
it a
Lane.
little closer to your mouth.
I've lived up there since 2011. Okay, so there's some errors in the report. On 8/26/2024, it says, I finished my first completeness review of Min 240031 Wildflower Lane and found a few items that need to be addressed. Then on 8/27/24, it says, I finished the completeness review for Min 240031 and found the application to be complete. But then it says, keep in mind that we'll still need the groundwater quantity report details. So the report is not complete at that time. And then on 8/30/2024, it says, references parcel that is 17.9 acres and 3-lot minor, but maps show correct subject parcel 11 acres. This information needs to be consistent, so it's the second time it was requested. And then the only thing else I have to say is, since I've lived up there for 2011, I'm on with, my well is 4 houses use the well. And at the time, it was 120 feet, 12 gallons per minute. And I used to hear water running in my cistern holding tank throughout the day. And now it seems like the only time I get water is at night. And we, of course, last year was a drought. The last time I hauled water was the end of November. And I don't think the area, it seems like it's changed over the years. We used to, we had some dry summers. We had a dry summer about 3 or 4 years ago that was really hot. And I had enough water then compared to this last summer. So I think we're producing less water in that whole area up there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Lisa Discolo, in favor of the appeal, did you want to speak? Okay. Patrick, is it Mitchell? In favor of the appeal, did not mention, do you want to speak? Susan and Michael Shaffey, in favor of the appeal, does not wish to speak. Sharon Rusoni, in favor of the appeal, does not wish to speak. Okay. Kathy Duran, in favor of the appeal, does not wish to speak. Jeff and Sandy Norskog, in favor of the appeal, does not wish to speak. Okay. Richard Maltandon, in favor of the appeal and wishes to speak. Come on down. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Name is Richard Montandon, 6261 East French Gulch is the address. Our family's been in the French Gulch area for 5 generations. I think the hydraulic studies and everything are very interesting. I think also just the experiences that we have mean something too. My parents were kind enough to give my wife and I some property back around 2018, and we drilled a well. And it was a great report at first. It was 30 plus gallons sustained per minute. We thought that was wonderful because we know in the area it's usually not that good. We got everything hooked up, got into our home in 2019, and that 30 gallons was not as impressive. After trying to irrigate and things like that, we soon found out that we were down to a half a gallon a minute. So the well reports are very interesting in that they look good. In the beginning, my dad had even mentioned, I said, that's great, but we'll see what happens. And sure enough, we were at 260 feet. We had to spend more money, of course, to get down deeper, down to 800 feet. And apparently we got up to 5.5 gallons per minute at that point, and then put in a couple of reservoirs, so that we're able to do our functions and things like that. So that's been our experience. I think that if we set a precedent of having smaller parcels and more wells, that it's not going to help the situation at all. I would imagine that it would potentially bring the water supply for everybody down even further. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, John Montandon, in favor of the appeal. Did not mark if you wanted to speak. Did you want to speak? Okay. All right, Sally Montandon, in favor of the appeal, did not mention if you want to speak? No? Okay. Is there anyone else who is in favor of the appeal and would like to speak? Come on down. And please state your name for the record.
Michael Norris, and I do live back in the French Gulch, 6692, close to Montana. I just want to say the whole thing about the water. Let's get a show of hands out there. How many people have had
I'm
low
sorry,
water this year?
sir, you have to address the board.
Okay, how many? I'm just asking. How many people do you think have had bad water this year?
I don't know, this is, we're dealing with a hearing right now, so we're learning.
Yeah. See, I think what I'm trying to tell you guys, to the commissioners, is that the water level for everybody has dropped, and it's getting very bad back in the French Gulch. Last year was a dry year. The year before was a dry year, and this year looks like it's going to be just as dry. And so, the more wells we put in there, the less water that everybody's going to have back in there. And that's kind of what I think the whole point of everybody's been trying to get at, is that we don't need any more wells drilled in the French Gulch. Thank you.
Thank you. I have, is it Trina Caudle, in favor of the appeal, does not wish to speak. I have David Phelan. I'm sorry. Phelan, forgive me. In favor of the appeal, does not wish to speak. Is that correct? Okay. Is there anyone else who is in favor of the appeal who would like to speak? Hearing nothing. I have James Cochran, neutral, does not wish to speak. Is there anyone who is against the appeal who would like to speak? Okay. With that said, the appellant has a rebuttal, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes.
Can you hear me? Oh, yes. Blake, could you put your site constraint slide back up, please? My complaint 8.6.302 on the geotechnical analysis is required as part of the subdivision application, and this is why. Development Department is claiming 3 usable acres, but that triangular portion between the high-pressure gas pipeline and the high-pressure petroleum pipeline is a swamp. If you had the geotechnical analysis at the time of application, you would know this. It's very misleading to state that the developer has 3+ acres when he's actually got 2.0 change for development. Note to the developer on his well, which is the Schmidt well directly across from me, claiming 10 gallons per minute currently, not disputing that, but I haven't seen the data. That well was drilled in 2008. It was 28 gallons a minute. He's had a 2/3 reduction in flow in 18 years. Doesn't give us the static height currently. I do have it in the driller's report from 2008, but I'll bet and this is strictly a guess, I'm guessing that static height, like all the others, has dropped in excess of the 1 foot per year that Quantum claims is an alarm. Concerning the development departments contacting the author of the quantum report, that's all well and good, but why didn't the quantum report contain that information up front? I have no way to determine if it's valid or not. Throwing it up here is good, but I'd need a review of that before I'd pass on it. So I suspect the comments, or I'm taking the comments of the development department as questionable. I don't know. I'd need time to review it. The idea that Quantum provided a 42.5 foot per day flow of water, velocity of water underground, it's rather specious that he's trying to make it favorable or more conservative. That just doesn't ring true. And the description that his well is going to be lower than mine doesn't make sense. That's why they put the drain at the bottom of the bathtub, really. I guess I'm gonna leave it at that. Nothing further. If you have questions, though, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you. Are there any questions up here? Hearing none, okay. I guess the question is, what would this board like to do as far as deliberations? Is there a preference with that?
I'm fine to set it as date certain.
Date certain? Okay. What would be a good date here that we could,
We can get it over with.
I'd kind of like to have a few days too to kind of.
February 26th?
February 26th?
Yeah, the agenda's not too full that day. Okay.
Okay. So with that said, we will move our deliberations to February 26th for a final decision, but I will take a motion to end public testimony and move into deliberations.
I have a question first. If the board wanted another hydrologist report, is that something that we could ask for?
Yes, one of your options is to remand back to staff for whatever reason you have.
I'm sorry, I can't get the answer.
Well, the question was, could the board ask for another report, water report? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
Is that something you'd be interested in? I mean, I'm not averse to that.
Yeah, so I think for expedience sake, maybe we can get one of those. All right, Blake, you're saying?
The groundwater quantity reports do typically take some time. In addition, the groundwater quantity reports per the code are based on available well logs from IDWR's database, meaning we don't have another source of information to pull from. So if you'd like another groundwater quantity report, that is fine, but it's likely to produce the same information that we've already been presented. If I may recommend, I think a pump test, I think, would be more applicable, but that appears to have already been provided by the applicant already.
Okay. That makes sense. So we could still require that during deliberation.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do it today.
Well, then I'll, make a motion to end public testimony.
Sure, and we're not missing any other rebuttals or anything like that right now, because I know this is a little bit different.
No, we've
Covered.
followed the normal order of, at least substantially followed the normal order of business, and the applicant the appellant has given their rebuttals.
Okay. So I move that we end public testimony for appeal number 25-0001, appeal of Sparrow Acres, and continue deliberations until February 26th, 10 a.m.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline? Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye, motion carries. We will continue, we'll have deliberations on February 26th at 10 a.m. Thank you all for coming out. Next up, CUP 25-0011, Lakes Highway District Brine Facility. It's an action item. And Blake Zetter. And
You're fine. It's fine. Thank you.
and I don't know if the board wants to go through a longer presentation or.
I don't need one.
Give me 1 second, I went down.
You're okay, Leslie, with not going through a
Correct.
presentation?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second, I went down.
Do you want to do a recess?
We could, I could use
Like a
5 minutes.
5-minute break?
Yeah, my only things I
Yeah.
Get all sorted out.
Okay, it's 11:40. We're back from our recess. Our first item, as I mentioned before, is CUP 25-0011, Lakes Highway District Brine Facility. And Blake Zetter, you can get started. I don't personally need a presentation. Commissioner Duncan, Commissioner Eberline, do you want a presentation?
No.
No? Okay.
Blake Zetter. Is this on? Blake Zetter, Planner, Kootenai County, here to introduce CUP 25-0011, conditional use permit for a public utility facility for a salt brine production.
Does anyone up here have any questions?
No.
No?
I'll just mention that the hearing examiner did approve it, and the applicable procedural requirements have been met.
Yes. Well, if there's no questions,
Yeah, I think this is
take a motion. Did you have
good
something you wanted to add, Blake?
I did just have one point of clarification I'd like to make regarding the aquifer protections. I know protecting the aquifer is very important to the board and as well as us. Thank you. I know the aquifer is very important to protect. Currently, the applicant is proposing storage of the salt brine in an industrial-grade plastic tank along with a concrete spill basin, which appears to be in line with PhD critical materials packet. They're also interested in doing a concrete sealant inside the concrete basin, which is considered a supplemental measure. PhD didn't have any concern with that, and is also consistent with the other salt brine facility off Pope Road operations, which is also over the aquifer. I just wanted to mention that, if you could let us know what your recommendation is on the protection measures.
That's fine. Thoughts?
I think that whatever Panhandle Health is going to approve and what fits into their project best once they get into it.
Well, it's also an extra protection against the concrete being eroded faster, so
Yeah.
it makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Commissioner Eberline? So without anything else, I'll take a
Does
motion.
it need to be in the motion, or it can just be approved as presented?
Approved as presented. I just want to make sure that we touched base so that I'm on the same page about what we're approving.
Okay. I move that we approve CUP 25-0011 Lakes Highway District's brine facility.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline? Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye, motion carries. Next up, item 3, CUP 25-0010, Worley Fire Station, its action item, and Justus MacGeorge. And I know personally, I don't need a full presentation. If you want to just go through a summary of the project, that would be great, unless any commissioner up here would like a full presentation.
Nope.
Okay.
For the record, Justus MacGeorge, planner. And as you said, by way of introduction, it's a CUP for a fire district fire station. This was approved via exempt division of land for the parcel in which it's established on. This request, the only noteworthy item is they're also requesting a variance to fencing standards around the perimeter. There will be landscaping, but it's a very rural, beautiful area. So they're requesting not to have fencing. And I stand for any questions. No agency concerns, no public comments for this project, and recommended approval by the hearing examiner.
Thank you. Any questions? No?
Okay. I move that we approve CUP 25-0010, and this is the Worley Fire Station.
Second.
Commissioner Eberline?
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan?
Aye.
Chair Matari?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. All right, our first business item, item 4, AOI, Area of Impact Map Update Discussion, and Ben Tarbutton.
Good morning, Commissioner. Is it still morning? Yes, it is. Good morning, Commissioners. Ben Tarbutton, Community Development for the record. This is a discussion item. As you recall, we had the Area of Impact hearings and decision made in December of last year. to establish the 1/8 mile boundary around the city limits of, with some exceptions and modifications to the cities of Coeur d'Alene, Ratham, Hayden, and Post Falls. Just to make sure that staff is on the same page, and we think we are, but with that decision, I think it is in your folder there under the Post Falls Area of Impact document. It does say that the distance shall be 1/8 of a mile from the existing incorporated city limits of the city. As such, city limits exist on the effective date of this description. Staff just wants to confirm that pending any annexation from a city in the future, that doesn't automatically extend that 1/8 boundary of the area of impact, but it would be the expectation of that city, if they choose to expand their boundary, that they come back through the modification process as required by state code. So that's what staff believes. We just kind of wanted to put it out to you to make sure that's correct in our understanding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that idea, and again, it doesn't prevent future annexations because anything within contiguous with the city boundary can be annexed.
Correct.
So it does not harm any of the entities.
Yeah, that's our understanding, so.
Yep.
Unless there are any other thoughts from the board, I wanted to also just take a moment to follow up with you on the discussions that we have had with the other cities that don't have an area of impact, and also the other cities that do, that would like potentially something greater and or standards to apply within those areas. At this point, I have only heard, have only confirmed from 4 different cities that they would like to participate in that extra workshop. Nobody has expressly said that they are okay with the 1/8 and would like to move forward with no standards as applicable within that area. So I think there are some cities that say we're still discussing it with city council and we'll get back to you. But I haven't heard anything definitively from Rathdrum, Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, or Hayden. But from some of the smaller cities, they said we would like to participate in a workshop. So I'm still kind of waiting to hear back from some more cities before we actually schedule a workshop. And I believe, again, that would be a workshop before the board for them to kind of give you their thoughts and ask questions. So.
Okay. And at this point, the Big Four have not submitted requests for, I forgot what you called it already.
Modification?
Standards. Well, standards.
No, at this point, there hasn't been a request for a text amendment, which essentially what that would require.
Text amendment, okay. Yeah, I mean, I still think it's worth it for the 4 cities involved who've expressed interest to have that workshop.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear back from, I think Post Falls currently has something scheduled with the city council. I'm not aware of the actual date, but I think pending the outcome there, they'll let us know. So, and the way that it's worked so far, once the city of Post Falls kind of decides something, the rest of the cities seem to have followed suit. So unless there are any other thoughts, we can move on.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Is that February 26th at that workshop, or is it going to be a different date?
It is not scheduled.
Not scheduled.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. On to the next item, 5, data center discussion. And Ben, you want to take that again?
Sure. Yeah, so going back again last year to October, the board approved a text amendment to create regulation for data centers. We now have a conditional use permit category with performance standards. And that decision was made in October, but following that decision, it was the direction of the board to follow up, to have staff work on a new ordinance that would effectively prohibit all data centers. Pat actually has put together a draft with that in mind. However, we do have the understanding that there may be some differences of opinion from the board on whether or not that is something that staff still should proceed with. I believe the idea is that maybe an absolute prohibition is not the preferred option, as there may be different ranges or scales of a data center. And perhaps maybe we shouldn't prohibit all of them, but maybe make room for some to be implemented and maybe some that are prohibited. But I wanted to give, I guess, the board an opportunity to maybe give staff some direction on what they would like to see.
Thoughts on that?
Yes, so I'm probably one of those that had second thoughts about an outright ban. And the reason being is you have, I don't know if you guys looked at this sheet. Yeah, Mark's got it in front of him. Yeah. So doctors' offices, banks, grocery stores, all these people need these data centers. But I think for our area, keeping it the micro size, even if Vista says anything 1.6 or below, they can service. 1.6 or above, then that would require, some changes in there.
1.6, where you referring
I'm sorry,
to?
megawatt energy usage.
So basically, up to a small data center,
Yes.
roughly.
Yeah. So, so with the CUP process, if we said that we are going to allow micro data centers, we can still deny the CUPs if it's not right with the public, if it's not something that the public can tolerate. And so I was just thinking that maybe that's a prudent way to go, but I would also entertain an outright ban. I just don't think it's the best.
I don't think you could really defend an outright ban legally on a particular industry, but I think you could set the criteria such that it's easier for one type of entity, like what you're talking about, a micro data center, versus a really large one. I think any ordinance that we have should include, the building disposal, what happens when they leave, things like that, and any kind of ongoing monitoring of measurements, if there are some, that would allow us to make sure that they're following whatever they claim they're going to follow. But with that said, I agree with you conceptually that we should incorporate much stricter guidelines and a much more rigorous process, anything that gets bigger.
Define a micro data center.
Well, it's 1 to 20 racks, basically, server racks, which is pretty small. I mean, that's a very small data center.
How small is that? How
Well-
small is small?
20 racks could go probably right, the entire length of that wall, probably a little less, would be 20 racks total.
I
Rack
wonder
is
how-
about this wide.
Yeah, I wonder how much the county has, because we literally on the third floor have a data center.
Yes.
5
We
or
do.
6 racks?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, right off the get-go, accepting micro data centers, the rest of it's not only no, but hell no.
So, sounds like the micro data center would be a possible as long as it's still under the CUP process.
Yeah, and we can certainly, bring before you, additional performance standards to implement that direction. So that it's abundantly clear what's going to be allowed and what's not.
Sure. And then I take it this picture of the Amazon Web Services facility is, that's consistent with a mega data center?
Yeah, I believe that's the case. So we wouldn't be looking at something like that if that's what the board had in mind with a micro data center.
Yeah, and there's no suggestion or implication by giving us that image. All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we'll move on to item 6, potential change of address for 9 parcels. And again, Ben, you're on here.
Yes, okay, so there has been a situation that has occurred that has come up to our attention. And I do have Dave Christensen from our GIS and mapping division here to kind of fill in on some of those technical questions that you may have. But in the area in Spokane Street, north of Hayden Avenue, there are some I don't know if address is the right term, but the city of Post Falls, as it is progressing further north, it has already addressed, and it may actually be easier to pull up a GIS map, and I can go ahead and do that. If you give me just a moment here. Because as the city has been growing and further subdividing, the addressing for that area is not following the actual grid pattern for the addresses already north of it. So it's not following in a numerical pattern.
You talking about Prairie Avenue?
Hayden, actually. Let me just get there for just a moment.
Because the city's expanded north of Prairie, but not north of Hayden.
If I may, Commissioners, the address range north of Hayden should start at 9,600 and count north. The problem that we have is the addressing along that portion of Spokane Street, north of Hayden, was done in error. And so what we have is, as Spokane Street's growing north of, in the city, they're basically starting to use up addressing. And we've run into a situation where we're now running into duplicate addressing south of Prairie Avenue with the growth of the city and north. Our addressing is roughly the 8,000 block north of Hayden, and it should be 9,600. And so what we're talking about doing today is readdressing those 9 structures to bring them in alignment with the addressing. It's simply an error that the county made years and years ago, and that's where we are today.
Let's see it now.
So what I have here pulled up is the city of Post Falls. If I move just to the north here, you can see, for an example, you've got 9102 on Spokane Street. If we go further south and look at the address points. Oh, thank you. All of these structure files are coming off of Spokane Street, and you can see here that 9102, which is far north of this area, should fit right in here. But that's kind of the point that Dave is making.
On an emergency service responder side of things, the importance to change this is they realize that everything north of Hayden would be 9,600, just like they know everything north of Prairie is 8,000. And so by having, bad addressing, they can, make assumptions that they're used to making and send them in the wrong direction, which will increase time. So another consideration.
And so the reason that we're bringing it up from you today is this more of kind of like a heads up. This does require, if the board agrees and gives direction to the staff to go ahead and make the changes to those addresses so that they would be more consistent with the addressing grid. This is going to require 9 property owners to change their address, which is incredibly inconvenient, and people do not like to change their addresses. As a result, you may hear some concerns about it. But we wanted to kind of put this in front of you now just to kind of give you a heads up.
Well, it sounds like something that over time it's inevitable. We could avoid it for the longest time because there was less growth there and it wasn't an issue. So then the question is, how does it get framed in a way for the property owners to see the benefit of this? Because I understand the inconvenience that, from an emergency services perspective, mapping perspective, and how would that affect? I would presume that people use Google to drive to their house.
Mm-hmm.
So how would all of those things be updated in a way that it's the least disruptive
Mm-hmm.
process? Is that something that we could assist with?
Yes, we certainly can. We take care of the situs and mailing address if it's the same with the assessor's office. We do notify the postal of the old and new addresses for these folks. We'll send them a letter with their property number, old, new address for their records. We can go ahead and go out to the major websites like Google and Bing and notify them of the change. We don't have a direct line to them, but we have some ways that we can suggest that they make those changes, and as long as we follow up with them, we've been successful with them over the years. We'll also put that out on our website and those kinds of things. Emergency responders will have it within 2 to 3 weeks. They'll have the old and the new, so they'll always be able to look that up.
And how long is the overlap time between an old address and a new address with the postal service?
In essence, what they do is they put a forwarding, so it's a year.
Yeah.
And if you have your local carrier and they know you, it's usually a little longer, but by regulations, it's a forwarding, just like if you were moving.
And I know addresses typically are not used for property descriptions, but would that have any effect at all with land use in any way?
No, not at all. We associate one site as
Or
address.
records, I should say.
Yeah, we associate one site as address. There can be multiples to the property. They use it as a general reference, but no, we've always expressed to everybody that legal descriptions are what you buy and sell when you transact property, not an address.
Okay. Any other questions or thoughts on this?
We went through it when we moved to the county. So in the first couple of years, we had to do that. It is a pain. Change your checkbooks, change, all that. Well, a lot of people don't use checks anymore. Maybe I'm dating myself. Yeah. But I think now it's not going to get any easier. So if now's the best time to do it, then let's get it done. And it's 9 people. I think in my neighborhood, it was a lot more than 9 people.
Yeah.
When I originally came out west, I changed over 15,000 addresses. We readdressed everybody in the county at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, our apologies to the folks who watch this if you're one of the 9 addresses getting changed, but hopefully you understand.
Commissioner Eberline, are you good with them proceeding in that direction?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think the board echoes that the sentiments for any interruption and frustration that may come from it. With that said, if there's no...
Do you have public comment? I think someone's here to talk on data centers.
We don't have public comment on
You
here.
can allow it though, if you want to allow it.
Did you want to
can.
speak on the data centers, sir?
Did you want to speak on the data centers?
Yes, just very briefly.
Okay, you need to come to a microphone.
Come to the microphone up by the podium, and we'll give you a couple minutes there.
Oh, gosh, I don't even need a couple of minutes. Hi, my name is Vermont Schroeder. I'm at 512 South 14th here in Coeur d'Alene. I'd like to address the data center issue just very, very briefly. I was talking to you, I think?
Blake.
Somewhat. Blake?
I think it was Blake.
Okay. About data centers, it's a subject matter that I'm pretty well intimately connected with, something I've been studying for about 2 years. The idea of putting kind of the kibosh on the very large data centers, the hyper data centers that they're talking about. Anything, they measure them by megawatts. Anything, I think the micro megawatts that you're talking about for Kootenai County is probably a pretty good idea, with the exception, the pushback that many communities are giving right now are based off of water and power. And power can be mitigated if you bring in your own. Water cannot. And as we heard earlier today, water is a really big issue. So I just wanted to, the reason I'm studying it is because the company that I work with manufactures natural gas and water. Okay? And we can manufacture it out of any carbonaceous material. And I've done a lot of research on how to harvest out all of the slash, all of the pulp that is burned every year up in the forest surrounding this area. And there's about 60,000 tons per year, maybe a little bit more, that can come out of the woods. And for us, that would feed about a 10 megawatt data center. Now, I only put that out there, I know that you can't say, well, we'll put one in if you use them. I'm not saying that at all. Just letting you know that there is technology that's out there, and I would encourage the board, if someone comes to you looking for a data center, please make them provide their own power, make them provide their own water. We do both, and we would be pulling it out of the woods, and we'd be doing a lot of cleanup activity there. But that's a totally different story for a totally different day. Thank you so much for your consideration on data centers. I think that was very wise of you to see in advance that this is coming, because we are right at a crossroads, north, south, east, west, for a major data center, for major fiber optic lines, and we supposedly have a lot of water. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, 12:05, meeting adjourned.